Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where it's about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Roswell, New Mexico. A great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up immediately where season 2's finale left off with, Jones's introduction and him telling Max who he really is. He's the savior and Max is the clone, which I guess which is so interesting because obviously they set him up to be kind of like the devil, which obviously Max was also like kind of set up to be like, oh, the savior. So the question then becomes like, could it be that he was like Jones was the savior, but like it's like, man, he's a bastard, he's terrible, so a clone of him was made to try and raise him to be like, no, like kind of a nature versus nurture thing of like, right, if we can nurture him in the right direction, he could be everything that Jones isn't. So maybe that's what Max's whole circumstances are. But then we like hard cut to a year later, I'm like, oh, I wonder, was that always the plan, or was that something, once again, I typically don't read up on shows productions and stuff like that, but it feels like I'm wondering, is it because of the past year that they made that shift, or was there always going to be, I mean, there's elements of obviously the real world implications like added into the show, but I'm also curious, like, was that always a plan to do like a year time skip at the beginning of the season? I don't know. But obviously, it's an aspect of everyone trying to move. I mean, a lot of things have shifted. They give you kind of do a little bit of catch up in this premiere of trying to figure out where everything is. Of like, oh, Maria and Michael not being together. They broke up a couple months ago. Isabel kind of still in her happy phase. Everyone else is kind of, well, no, Max and Liz. Liz is all, kind of doing her dream job, doing what she wants to do, try and save the world. But obviously that doesn't work out the way she hoped it would, because it's like, oh, I'm working on this thing that will help people who are paraplegic, but the company wants to actually, we got able to cut through a lot of the red tape because now it's going to be used in like a, like a skin cream or something like that, not even for the purpose that it was meant to be used for. And in fact, it won't actually be used for the purpose it's meant to be used for until like 10 years from now. But it's like, don't worry, because it is like great work you've done. The fact of the matter is you guys are going to get even more of a boost, like, bonus for like your future research and stuff like that, like how much money you get for your future research. So, side note, more Vampire Diaries casting, which is interesting. More specifically, more original people. I'm like, oh, because it's the actor who plays Josh in the original. So I'm like, oh, dude. Once again, it's crazy. So many familiar faces. But obviously for Liz, like, she's kind of dedicated her entire life to, I think because everything between her and Max has made her even more reluctant, like, to kind of put her life on pause, because I think it is her trying to move forward, but there is a part of her that, when Kyle comes to visit, it's like, you're kind of hoping that Max would come and visit you, but he hasn't, and it's like, he's moved on, it's time for you to move on too. I'm thinking Kyle saying all that, knowing what Max's circumstances are, and the whole reason why Max is keeping her at a distance is Noah's heart is being rejected by his body, so it's like, I don't have much time, I don't want Liz around me, so he's not coming after her, and he's trying to party it up and just be fun because he's trying to create happy memories for him, Isabel, and Michael, but they're both feeling like, yeah, there's something off here, like, yeah, you're doing the one night stand thing, trying to pretend like you're not over Liz, which he is trying to pretend like he's okay because he needs them to be okay, because he rather them hit, like, because they'll go through hell and back to try and bring him back like they did before if they found out the truth. So for him, it's like, I'd rather just have these peaceful memories because there's no saving me. Because even Kyle was like, if there was a way to, like, even like, we used like strings and bubblegum. I'm paraphrasing. That's at least semi what Kyle was saying, that like bring Max last time, and even then it took a little extra push from Rosa, and even then it's like Max is in his current condition, so like they don't believe there's any way to like fix it. He's only got a certain amount of time. Obviously this is unknown territory for Kyle because it's like, right, like he hasn't had many opportunities to study alien bodies, so like this is all a first for him, so even he doesn't know like how this is all going to play out. But he confronted Max about like, he's avoided going to his appointments, which obviously him and Maria are in that same boat. Like, Maria refuses to wear her bracelet because it's like, if I wear the bracelet, I won't be able to have my visions, but it's slowly ticking away at her mind. And it's like, Kyle's trying to say, you don't have to end up like your mom. Like, you can, your mind can stay intact if you take the precautions. But for her, it's like denying a part of who she is by putting the bracelet on. But also, it's like, right, my visions came in handy in the past, and they can now if I just keep doing this, because it's like, I know that there is some good that can come from this, like, my ability. Like, I can, but that's always the danger of knowing the future too. It's always a double-edged sword. I mean, in her case, it's almost like a triple-edged. It's even more of a double-edged sword, because obviously it's destroying her mind to have these visions, but also, once again, knowing the future can be a dangerous thing. Because even if you circumvent one thing, who's to say what those ripple effects would be? I mean, can you, how much can you really change things? How much is, set in stone? How much is going to happen regardless of you enter that territory? So, when it comes to Michael, Alex just came back in town, which she was trying to be like, okay, let's kind of pick things up. Which I'm like, oh, I mean, it's like the back and forth. It's like, will they, won't they? And he's excited to try and see Alex, because Alex has been away dealing with, like, the aftermath of, like, Operation Shepherd. And then it's like, oh, wait, I wasn't the only one waiting for him. And so Michael just kind of stuck on the sideline. It's like, you missed your opportunity. And for him, it's probably like, maybe it is too late. Like, the constantly pushing away and just where things currently stand, like, that's just not a viable option. I mean, plus, like, once again, him and Maria not working out either. It's just a combination of many different things. But Alex has got some circumstances of his own, because it seems like Deep Sky has got an eye for you. And so it's like, okay. But then the moment he finds out, like, wait, this is going to be a group that's, like, got their hands in a lot of pies about, JFK and a lot of the secrets to the world, including aliens. So for him, this is an opportunity. Like, the fact is that his mind immediately went there, like, right, they want to recruit me, and maybe I can, but if I get recruited, that means cutting out everyone in my life. And it's like, I don't want that for you. I want us to be together. Like, yeah, I'm a part of it, but if you get a part of it, then, like, that means cutting out everyone in your life. And sadly, I think for Alex, he's deciding to do that, because for him, he's had to do so much to unravel the family legacy that he has, especially coming back and seeing that statue of his dad. And it's just like, Gregory's still having to deal with the ramifications of that too, of like, oh, like, I have to, a statue of my dad kind of being seen as this veteran hero when he wasn't. He was kind of a megalomaniac. So dealing with that, Alex obviously having the very complex feelings about their dad as well, probably even just as much as I'm sure any of it, well, with the exception of certain siblings. But when it comes to it, though, Alex probably sees this Deep Sky situation as a means of creating a new legacy for his family. Because regardless of anything, like, Michael is always going to be at the core reason why he does any. I mean, I think it's in general, it's to make up for all the terrible. It's not just Michael. It's actually more bigger and greater than Michael, in the sense of, like, it's about, like, rectifying a terrible history that my family was a part of. Like, the way we locked these aliens up, what we did to them. It's like, no, like, it's correct. Like, you can't change the past, but at the very least, you can build a new legacy of trying to rectify all that to some extent. So I think that's what's kind of in Alex's mind. But Kyle talks to him about, obviously this world, that now that they're kind of in the know about everything, it is kind of a lonely world, because you don't have many people you can talk to. Because obviously for Kyle, it's like, oh yeah, like, he was at this convention for doctors and stuff, and he forgot about, he's like, the thing he missed the most and liked the most about it was, like, the camaraderie and, like, the telling of stories. Not much he can tell on his side of things because of the whole aliens thing. So there's still that part of life where you being in the know means you have to cut, like, a lot of stuff out of your life. I mean, him and Steph ended up breaking up. It's like, yeah, miracle cure, and she wanted to kind of cut all ties to Roswell, and Kyle would have been a constant reminder about Roswell, But she's like, at the end of the day, he's like, I can't blame her. I mean, a lot of people are trying to cut their ties to Roswell, but no matter how much you try, it always manages to pull you back. I mean, Liz seems like she's the furthest away from for now, but eventually it's going to get revealed, whether it's Max's circumstances, whatever it is, something's going to fully draw her back to Roswell. I mean, going back to Roswell was never her plan. It was just, I'm going to pop in, and then but she didn't have much of a choice back then. I mean, to be fair, she was like running away from her fiance at the time, so it's just, now she's finally kind of fully away from Roswell. But once again, that didn't last for too many years before you got pulled back. So it's going to happen again. It's just only a matter of when and what's the full circumstances. I'm assuming it's going to be about fixing Max's circumstances, which obviously showing how much he's still pining over her. To the fact is that he's listening to some of her recordings, which I guess shows that not all her research and like tapes and stuff were destroyed when he blew up her lab and everything last season. Like, there's still some of it left, enough that he can just hear her voice without like contacting, because it's like, if I contact her, then like we'll kind of fall in our cycle again, and like I don't want there to be an us when I don't have enough time. Like, I don't want to hurt Liz again. But he even says that line I thought was kind of beautiful at the beginning, where he was basically like, we found our way back to each other twice, like, maybe we can do it again, in some shape or form. Because he did like write a whole bunch of letters, like I think to Michael, Isabel, Liz, and even like we saw one for their mom as well. This episode also kind of introduced where it seemed like there might have been like a Maria and Gregory thing going on there for a second. Then I'm like, I'm wondering, I mean, because at the end, like, he left her a bear, but I don't know if he's left town or not. Especially now that his bro's back in town. I don't know if he's going to leave town or what, like what he's going to do. But it seemed like they might have been potentially setting that up, like a wink and nod to that. But I mean, we don't know. I'm curious to see if there's going to be a lot more Gregory this season or not. Is he going to be sticking around, or was that just kind of a parting gift because it's like, yeah, I'm leaving? Or was it just kind of like, oh, I just wanted to drop this off because you weren't here at the time? We'll have to wait and see where they kind of go on that front. And then there's the Rosa situation. Obviously, therapy, but it's like there's only so much talk therapy can do when you can't talk about a lot of stuff. There's also the conversations about their mom trying to get better, trying to make amends. She left Rosa a letter. Also, like the syringes that were used to kind of wipe people's memories, which comes in handy later on when she runs into Wyatt Long, who's like, wait, you're Rosa? She's like, no, like, I'm her cousin. Sorry. So I might just be a ghost. Boo. And he comes out because, I mean, obviously the Longs and the Ortegas have their complicated history, because like, I was like, oh yeah, my sister died because of you. You were obviously, sadly, she's paying the ramifications of like what Max, Isabel, and not just Max, but Max, Isabel, and Michael did, but it was more so like the Noah situation. But it's still like Max is the one who made the decision of like doing what he did. So she still has to suffer the ramifications for that. Like, once again, fully going in, still coinciding with the fact is her and Max will never fully be okay, considering everything that he did, making her take the fall for it, and Liz and their entire family having to suffer for it. So there's that. But Wyatt, like, coming at her with a gun, being like, oh, there's something up with you. Another autopsy, and it's like, Jesus. Luckily, she syringed him, but it's like, even then, it's like, how long is that going to last? I mean, it's just seeing her face triggered him like that. Like, because I don't know, man. We'll see what ends up happening with that, because I'm like, does Rosa tell anybody about that? Does she just pretend like, I mean, living in that town, you're going to have to literally, like, you're going to eventually run into him, especially if he's going to be in the same therapy, like, like group or whatever as you, like, you're going to run into him. So it's like, you got to find a way to mediate that situation somehow. I'm curious how that's all going to play out. We'll ultimately have to wait and see in that regard as well. There's also Liz leaking the patent to what they were working on, because for her it's like, wait, if they're going to use it like this, I'm going to put it out there in the world so that someone else can do this without it having to sit on a shelf, not serving its true purpose for like 10 years because it's being used in a cream instead. But like for her lab partner's like, that's kind of messed up. It's like, for him, it's like his mom had like a genetic type of disease, and he wanted to make sure no one ever went through what she did. So that's why this work is so important to him. And it's like Liz getting fired, it will ultimately get him fired. So Liz tries to rectify that, because it is a thing of like, right, I got so caught up in what I'm trying to do, I didn't think about the ramifications of it. But it is a thing of like, what she is so used to kind of breaking the laws to kind of do what she wants. She's done it time and time again for everything she's done for the past 2 seasons. So it's like, I mean, even more so last season, but it's like crossing a lot of lines isn't something necessarily new for Liz, but especially when her heart is in the right place of like, I'm trying to do the right thing. I might have to like, you know, do some stuff to get there, but I don't, I shouldn't have to like go very like outside the lines to try to do the right thing for her, you know? And so I think she's trying to rectify it. Well, still kind of breaking the laws, but just, you know, as her partner says, like, be smart about it. So they were able to kind of make it seem like, oh, like she wasn't the one responsible, because it is like the company she works for kind of owns everything, like obviously all like IP of what she makes, where she lives, or computer. So like, even if you leaking it through your computer, they're going to be able to trace that back to you, because they have access to everything that you own and do here. So being able to cover that up, but also like her and her partner kind of having, you know, one night stand type of thing of that, you know, and at the same time Max doing the same thing, which I'm like, is that going to become a significant thing between him and that? I don't know. Is that just going to be the one night stand? Because you're also a little suspicious, because you're like, you never know who's popping up in these characters' lives that are just regular people and not something deeper and more sinister. Like, oh yeah, this person is with Max. Like, is it just going to be like, she's like, oh yeah, I get it, it's just a casual thing. But I'm like, is it going to end up being a casual thing? Or is it going to be more complex because you're not who you claim? You know, like you're suspicious of anyone that pops up in like anyone in this circle. Not just Michael, Isabel, or Max's life, but obviously it extends to Kyle, Liz, Alex as well, and Maria. You know, they're a part of that circle now. So like any new people popping up in their lives, you just can't help but get a little twinge of like, I'm a little suspicious. But you know, we'll have to, you know, wait and see. Like whether, I don't know. I'm just a little suspicious. That's all it is. Max being the one pushing for, yo, we need to, you know, find a way to cage Jones so we can talk to him, like kind of nullify his powers and everything. But turns out Michael had finished the cage. He just didn't want to jump on it immediately, because it's like, no, we don't need to take any chances with this dude. Our moms refer to this dude as the devil. Let's not tamper with that. But for Max, it's like, this guy has the answers for everything. I did what I did with the whole Rosa situation because I was a scared 17-year-old kid. This time, I don't want fear to stop me from getting the answers we all need. He needs to find out. It's not just about himself. He wants, and when he's gone, he wants them to at least have the opportunity to have some answers. Because I think for Max, he wants to know more about his circumstances, even though he's got some answers, but there's still so many questions. But for Isabel and Michael, they know nothing about their people. Anyone that could give them answers are gone, except for Jones. So we need to pump him for information. But then Max reveals his circumstances, and it pisses Michael and Isabel off, because especially for Michael, it's like, I've kind of like the Alex thing and the Maria thing, like the rest of my life has kind of been shit, but at the very least I thought we were good. But now it's like, no, like what we had was like fake. It wasn't like, oh, real. Like, no, there was like, I thought we were finally good. Like, we've had our bumpy roads in the past, but I thought for the first time in a long time we were all good. And it's like, no, it was all a lie. And it's like, you doing this, like, what would you want us to do? Like, oh, just all of a sudden you would drop dead and like everything was going to be okay. Like, oh, we had the happy memories. But it's like, no, they would have been pissed at you, because they would have been like, you lied to us, you know? Yeah, but Isabel did get an idea from Kyle, where it's like, where you need someone else to study, so that person is Jones. It makes you wonder, like, is Max's circumstances of being a clone, does that have some, I mean, their biology is exactly the same considering they're clones, so it's a better study of like a healthier body would be looking at Jones. But he's also like, well, the pyrokinesis thing going on, like, once again, waged a war between like the humans and the aliens. Like, he started that when he just stepped off the ship lighting people up. So he is kind of a psychopath. and I'm assuming he's the one that ties into Maria's vision of the funeral and everything. And obviously everyone's assuming it's Max, but then she gets attacked, which I'm wondering, is it because, and whoever the people who attacked her, I wonder, are they from the Longs? Are they from the Longs or anything? Like, what's up with like them coming and attacking her with like the mask on and everything? I guess it's like, oh, you're kind of anyone in that town that they consider probably a freak or weirdo. That's what that's about. Like, I don't know what that was about necessarily. I guess because like maybe everything associated with her mom, whatever the case may be, like whoever it was attacked her. Granted, at the time it like activated more of the vision, and it's like Max is at the funeral and so is Alex, and Alex is saying like this is like the Noah thing all over again, like covering up a murder. So it's not Max. So who is it? Well, who wasn't there? Liz and Kyle. I'm leaning more towards it being probably Kyle that dies. I mean, the thing is, Maria's there like, well, because I was about to say like Isabel's kind of like crying, but it's like, I'm sure that's fake. So either maybe it has something to do with Rosa, like having to fake her death again. It might not even be like someone necessarily. Well, it seemed like Max was crying a little, so party's like, could it be like Cam or something? Could it be, like I said, I'm leaning more towards Kyle, but I'd assume it has something to do with the Jones thing of like, ironically enough, like because of the Vampire Diaries connection and stuff like that, it's just interesting because it's like there's a lot of that in Mystic Falls covering up crimes, like, oh, animal attacks, so it's just interesting parallels you can draw there. But I think that make it ironic if it was Kyle, like just because of the Vampire Diaries angle, that would be like, oh, covering up crimes in Roswell, very much like Mystic Falls. I think that'd just be ironic in that case. But I'm leaning towards Kyle because like, not like I said, not unless it was like Isabel like faking tears or something like that, but like I think something happened to Kyle and they have to cover up like what happened to him, and especially if he's the one examining Jones. Like maybe Jones like ends up getting free and ends up killing him or something, and they have to make it seem like an accident. Maybe or maybe this is related to, like I said, what's happening with Rosa now, or like Maria getting attacked the way she did. Who knows? There's a lot of questions this season premiere. Once again, you had to play catch up on like the past year, trying to figure out like what hasn't been covered. It seems like they gave you like the quick draft notes of like what's happened this past year, but I still feel like there's still some stuff that isn't 100% answered. But also, what's next? I mean, it sets up so many questions at the very beginning of the season. It's going to be interesting to see what answers we get over the course of the season, but over the when it comes to the next episode. So we'll have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.